So I just want to thank all the people that supported my first video. Quick shout outs to Emily O'Connor, Liam Anderson, and Pendergast, Mr. Pendergast. All the people that are supporting this channel, so just following me and just listening to what I have to say, because sometimes what I say here, I wouldn't say I wouldn't necessarily say that they aren't appropriate for the classroom, but for it to be said in the classroom, it can't be shortened into a 40-second, quick synopsis. It's something that I'm passionate about and that I could talk about for a long time, because it's not only that I am speaking from the experiences of other African Americans. I'm also speaking from personal experience. In these videos and some videos to follow, I'll be talking about my personal life at LaSalle and how it is, and others at LaSalle how it is to be African American and how we're affected by that. And my mother and we watched 12 Years a Slave, Lee Daniels the Butler, and Selma. And we watched that back to back. And I usually get questions from people asking me, how do I feel about these films, and just my general responses. I usually say, it was a good film. It portrayed that time period, that era, and I usually don't go past that. I usually do not go past that, and I'm a type of person where I believe that no one should be offended, even though that happens daily. But sometimes the truth about that time period and what goes on now will offend people. And what I've come to realize is that I can't hold back the truth. I cannot. I believe everyone has feelings, that they're entitled to them, and everyone should respect those feelings. But for me personally, that line is crossed, has been crossed. So I have learned that I cannot withhold the truth for the sake of one person's feelings. Because withholding that truth to that one person is denying thousands and millions their right for their struggle to be truly expressed to those who control this country. As I watched Selma with my mom, as the movie ended, she had a face that did not concern me, but it intrigued me. It wasn't as if we were watching The Notebook or Made in Manhattan, or a movie where she may cry at the end, even though she's seen it a million times. First time we saw Selma, and I looked at my mom and I said, "What's wrong?" She said, "I'm frustrated." And I said, "Why?" She said, "Because I look at African Americans now," she said, "I look at blacks now, and we had men like Malcolm X, Frederick Douglass, Booker T. Washington, Martin Luther King, Miss Rosa Parks, Harriet Tubman. We had people, our ancestors, fight for what we have now. But yet many forget where they come from and who fought for them, so that where we are now was a gift from those that lived through slavery, through Jim Crow laws and the Civil Rights era. Look into future generations, as in what we do now is going to affect young black kids in 2010, in 2020, 2030, so on and so forth. They were looking at how kids are affected in 1960. But if they get these things passed, how kids will be affected in 1970, 1980, 90, 2000. They looked to the future. And now that we are in those times, we take for granted the lives that were lost. One thing my mom always says is she doesn't understand how many African Americans can walk around and not be upset or feel some type of hurt inside their heart because they know, rather, in their heart, they don't feel such pain when they see films where their women are constantly raped, our ancestors lynched just because they were black, because we were seen as inferior beings, 3/5 of one person. You dehumanized another human being. 3/5 compromise. Each slave is worth 3/5 of a vote. So that when we became a bicameral or two-house government, where we have the House of Representatives and Congress, the bigger states could get their representation in the House of Representatives by population because they had slaves. Smaller states from the north had Congress, where you only have two-man representation because they have less population, so there's equal representation in Congress. And every time I read that, I chuckle, and it's a little bit of a laugh. But when people hear, they know it's a hurtful laugh, because they know how I am, they know what I believe.